Hi everyone, and welcome to this demo. I'm really excited to bring you through our platform and to show you what we do to generate account-based personalization, personalized content for your sales team, your sales reps. My name is Federico, and I'm one of the co-founder at Principal. I'm going to show you what we do today and bring you really through the product. Now, before diving into the product itself, let me just sort of frame the problem we're trying to solve with Principal. So you can imagine today the context maybe of your sales team, right? If you're selling especially high-touch product or software or solution, and so you have a sales team, and so on the one side you have sales reps sending emails all day long, and different touch points, maybe social touches and calls and so on. On the other side, you have buyers deciding what product to buy, what solution to buy, receiving these touch points and emails all day long. And very rarely these two parties ever connect. There are millions of email calls and touch points, very few of them ever get responded. The reason is people are getting blind to sales messaging. And data shows, and you can take any possible data in sales and marketing, data shows that the only thing that can really get you a customer engagement, a response, a meaningful customer interaction, the only thing is using content which is intelligently and intensively customized to your customers and to your prospects. The problem with that is it's very expensive. Right. So if you're Microsoft or Amazon working on that JEDI deal with the government or on a multi-million-dollar deal, yes, you may have the resources to have an entire part of your team dedicated for the entirety of the year on that specific deal, that specific relationship. But for most sales teams, even enterprise sales teams, it's impossible. It's financially impossible to allocate the kind of resources necessary to generate the content that connects. And this is really the problem, right? And the best thing you can possibly do today is using one of those platforms that probably your team is already using. I'm talking maybe a SalesLoft or Outreach or Yesware. So these are a little more mechanical automation. So if you didn't get a response the first time, you may get it the second time, the third time, but at the end of the day, these tools are not really increasing your chances in any significant way. Coming back to the thesis, the only thing that can turn the dial is using content which is intelligently and intensively customized to your prospect. So we created a product that sits in between your content management system where you keep your cookie cutter marketing materials. And by the way, content management system can be as simple as your file system, your Dropbox or your Google Drive, or you may have a CMS. And your CRM on the other side, where you keep the data of your customers and combines the content and the data and allows your team in a few clicks to generate content which is really customized to each prospect. And by the way, the content today is not necessarily used in the sales process at the very beginning. Maybe you have content and sales demos and different decks that your reps and your account executive use when they have a meeting with a customer. They need to show the product and talk to the value proposition. Now imagine if we could recreate some of the impact that your AEs are having down the funnel much early in the funnel. Imagine how wider the funnel could be, how many more interaction you could generate, how many more meetings you could book. And early customers using Principal, they're seeing up to 300% increase in their positive response rates when it comes to prospecting and the conversation with the customers. So I'm really excited to show you how that works and give you a practical example. Now, and by the way, if you have any question at any point, please, stop this video and just write to us and get in touch with us, and we'll be super excited. Or maybe just even comment down below, and we'll be super excited to start a conversation with you and clarify this. Now, let me show you how this works with the help of a real example. So The example that I want to show you is a real customers of ours, and the customer is DealPad, is a very well-known company in San Francisco, selling to some of the most respected and largest real estate companies in the world. We're talking companies like Blackstone and BlackRock, really valuable and with a high ticket size. Now, they were really challenged in their ability to create this conversation with the customer, really challenged. And let me show you what they were doing before and what they're doing today using Principal. Now, here is what I want to show you here is a deck that they were using, they're still using in steps 3, 4, 5 of their sales process, right? And it's a great deck. It's talking about whatever the product, why the product is great, all the sort of the features and the characteristics of the product. Now, the problem with this deck is not something you could send to a prospect, right? There's no reason why a prospect would be willing to engage and to walk through an entire deck. You need to customize it. You need to make it relevant for them. Now, coming back to the presentation, here is an email that the reps were sending before using Principal. So you can see here is a pretty standard email, vanilla email, some basic personalization, a usual pattern of a sales email, right? Like hello, first name, name of the company, things of that nature. Now, let me show you what they do today. Now, they went from this email to this email. Now, what is the difference? So, the email, it has a little more personalization per se, but it includes a deck, which is in the form of the email is a thumbnail, so there's a visual prospecting, but is actually an analysis, is a deck, which I will show you. And it's very personalized because this analysis is made specifically for BlackRock and has their name, their logo, and much more, as I will show you. Now, just going from this to this, there was a 300% increase in positive responses. Now, let me show you what that looks like in practice and how we were able to generate this. So, I'm gonna now walk you through our platform Principal. So what you see here is our system, and it's the a copy account to the one that DealPad is currently using. They have 133 accounts, which you see here on the left, and there is also BlackRock. Maybe we can take this account. I can show you with the same example. At the center, in the centerpiece here, there is the content. And we see here a piece of content that was generated. It's a prospecting deck. And here on the right, there are all the data points which were used to generate this content, right? And some are, pretty standard data points like revenues of the company and location, headquarters. But there are also some other, more I would say ad hoc and bespoke pieces of let's say data points, such as we're talking here. DealPad is selling a real estate solution to real estate funds, and so here we have data points such as what's the strategy of the fund, right? Which is a real estate lingo. What services do they offer? Where they were funded? What assets are under management? These funds, they have real estate portfolios. There are photos of their portfolio and addresses of their properties, and then there is the business case. So I'll show you in a second where the data are coming from. Some data are coming from APIs that we have. Some others are coming from custom data mining. I'm sure you're probably asking, but where are this data coming from? So I'll show you in a second. But I want to show you the content, right, that it was generated. So all this data, we have a custom data integration with Google Slides, so we're able to inject this data directly into the slide. So I can open here the content that was generated, and I'm gonna just give you this example. So now here we're gonna see exactly the content. So you can see here this analysis was created for BlackRock with their logo, and then there is a cover letter from Trent, which is one of their account development reps, and so it's talking directly to the prospect. And then the analysis continue with a portfolio of like a profile of the of BlackRock, which is the target account. So to say, okay, we studied you, we know, you have a certain focus, and you had to do certain services, and you have a certain strategy. We know you have assets under management 21 billion. Here is your portfolio. And then there is a business case, right, made specifically for BlackRock based on their numbers, and this continue and continue. And this is really a deck and an analysis that is talking about the target account, right? It's not talking about Dealpad, it's not talking about the seller, but it's not talking about you in a sense, but it's talking about them. And so they engage, then click, they read, and then they engage, and really that's how the conversation starts. And so that's how we start a conversation. There are questions and very deep engagement with the prospect, and that then manifests in a great increase in positive responses, even to calls and other activities of the sales reps. Now, by the way, we made this super easy for a sales rep to use this. Now, if I am a sales rep, I want to use this piece of content. What I'm just gonna copy a thumbnail. I'm gonna be able to select one of the thumbnails of the piece of content, for example, this profile page. I'm gonna click here, and then I'm gonna be able to choose where to inject this page, either in a email, like a manual email, personal email, LinkedIn. If I'm using one of those platforms like Outreach, Yesware, SalesLoft, HubSpot, we're basically integrated with everything. And I'm going to be able to use it and by the way, if I'm using injecting this content in a sequence, each and every one of my target account will receive their own analysis, their own piece of content, their own collateral, personalized. Now, on top of that, we have all sort of analytics to understand how the content was used, who is engaging, what are the slides and the pieces of content that are mostly engaging for the prospect, so you can also customize and really optimize the content over time. And then you're going to be able even to create new pieces of content. So this is what I've showed you now is the prospecting use case, which is really the starting point of Principal, which enable you, to do a much better prospecting with more in-depth content. And I'm going to make more videos, especially in this time of coronavirus and a little sort of crisis that is going on. Is really helpful, and it's really important that you as a sales sales leader and a sales capacity, you are providing help, and you're sort of providing consultation, education to your customers, and really not just pitching them, but really adding value. So this can be instrumental really to do that. The last thing I wanted to show you is really how, where we get the data. This is a question that comes up all the time, so you're probably asking. We are integrated off the shelf. We integrate with Clearbit. So Principal comes with Clearbit, which it contain all the sort of the common, let's say, data points, right? The logo, the employee range, revenue range, sort of common data points. We can also add, if you have, for example, other subscription to other APIs like Discover, Bambora, Owler, obviously your Salesforce, right? This is sort of intermediate complexity. If we want really to go for the advanced approach, like the deck that I show you for a Dealpad, then we can do custom data mining, right? So for your industry and really researching your prospect, we can go and really find specific fields, specific pieces of information that we're going to be able to inject in your content. The last thing that I want perhaps to show you, to add a little more context, is like, you're probably asking about, what about this content? Who generates the content and how that works? So the content works like this. So there is a notion of creating masters, and the master is essentially a skeleton, right? It's a piece of content which is the framework for the content generation, but doesn't have the specific data points. So for example, I'm going to show you here the master of the prospecting deck, right, that I showed you before. And so the master, it's as I mentioned, it's a framework which contain these brackets, right? For example, company and logo, right? And for example, in the profile page, there are all these curvy brackets. These get swapped automatically with the data for your account. So you define at the beginning the sort of a framework of what you want to say, and then all essentially the data points will be swapped and will be adapted for each of your target accounts. We do this creation with you typically, but there is also a very useful builder which will be the content of a maybe follow-up video, and it contains essentially a library of predefined templates you can start from, essentially content modules that works in certain scenario, and for each of them you're going to get a description and where to use it, use case, and we typically work with you in a pilot capacity to create the first maybe 1, 2, 3 pieces of content, and then from there on you're going to be your team is going to be trained to generate their own masters. And you want to create a master every few months, and so be able, for example, for prospecting, to have your sales rep always saying something new, something useful, something relevant for that period, moment in time to their prospects. So this is essentially principle. It's our product. I love to hear what you guys think, and your comments, feedback, questions. Any question, any feedback, please comment down below. I think this is the easiest way just to get in touch and start maybe a discussion, conversation, or reach us directly. Like my email is federico@useprinciple.com. I hope this was interesting for you guys, educational. Again, like any question, please comment, and I'll see you next time. We're gonna publish a number of videos on more specific angles, and maybe also related to practical use of the product in this specifically this time of change for sales. And so hope to see you in perhaps in the next videos. If you like the video, please give it a like. It really helps other people to find it. So I'll see you next time. Have a good one.